Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy Kenza James. Our new subscribers, you're welcome. Our old subscribers, you're all welcome. I love you all. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to draft a mermaid skirt, right, with a train at the back of the skirt. So usually you could have your skirt and then you have your train which you can attach from the lower bum side of the skirt that flows. But what we want to do is want to be able to draft the tail together with the pattern, so instead of having 3 panels at the back, we'll have just 2 panels. You understand what I'm talking about when we get into drafting, but so I'm going to be using my pattern paper here, and then I have my measurements here with my pencil which I'm going to be using. Then I have my pattern master here, then my hip curve. Right now I have a masking tape here. You can use a cello tape or any other tape that you have. Right now what I'm going to be doing is I have this masking tape because I'm going to be joining the pattern. I have three pages of my pattern paper here, so I'm going to be joining it to extend the length. I don't want to leave you with imaginations of extending the length of your pattern, so I want to do everything complete, both the front and the back. That's why I have 3 piece here. So you see how I use all of those. So guys, this skirt is actually a dress I'm making, so I'm going to be doing the upper side of the dress in another video. So in this video we're going to be concentrating on the skirt part. So the total length of the dress that I'm drafting here is 61, but because the upper side is going to be different, the total length of the dress is 61. Now from the person's shoulder to her half length, which is the half scale, is 15 inches. Right now I'm going to minus 15 from 61, which will give me 46 inches. Right, so which means the length of her dress is going to be 46 inches. Now I'm going to measure 46 inches like so. So you can see we have only our pattern paper is 40 inches long. So I'm going to bring another one. Then I'm going to be cutting out about 7 inches from here. Now I'm using that 7 inch, or let me just do 8 inches just in case. Right, so I'm marking 8 inches like so. That's why we need our masking tape. So I'm going to bring my ruler. So guys, this side that I glued, that I taped down, right, is where I'm going to use as the upper side of the skirt bodice. You can put it down, but it doesn't matter, but I just like to use it at the up. So I made my starting point line here. Then I'm going to mark the distance from my waist to the hip, which is 9 inches. I'll mark 9 inch like so, and I'm going to square that into a straight line like this. Right, so I'm going to shift my paper and mark the distance from my waist or affluence to the knee point. Right, 20 inches. I'm going to mark 20 here. I'm going to rule that in a straight line as well. So on my waistline, I'm going to insert my waist measurement, divide by 4, because I'm working on 1/4 of the body. So my waist is 28 inches. So I'm going to divide 28 by 4, which is 7. So I'm marking 7 inches here like this. Then I'm adding 1 inch for that. I'm going to come back and draw the dart, then 1 inch sewing allowance. Then I'm going to check my hip. My hip is 37. Divide by 4. Is a standard sized person, guys. It's not a plus size. 37 divided by 4. I'm going to mark that. My dart is not going to be reaching my hip, so I'm marking 1 inch for my sewing allowance, right? Then I'm going to measure what I have for my waist, 7 inches. That's what I'm adding on I'm using on my hip line. I'm adding ½ inch for ease, then 1 inch sewing allowance. I'm going to connect that point together. So I have my points glued together, right? Now I'm going to be moving. Let me drop my measurement book aside. Then I'll be moving to the hem part of my. So I'm going to mark out what I have here. I have 9.2. I'm marking that 9.2 here, right? So from that 9.2, I'm going to determine how wide I want my mermaid skirt to be, right? So I'm doing like let's say 14 inches, which in general is going to be 28 inches, right? If I discover that that's too wide, I might need to shape it out. So I'm going to know. Let me do 12 inches. I'm taking out 2 inches from that 14 inches, right? So now I'm just going to connect my lines like so. So you can see this is our front scale, right? So now I'm coming up here from this point here. I'm marking 1.5 inch, and I'm just going to dissolve that in like so. Then I'm going to be cutting out. So just like I taped the front bodice, right? It's the same thing I'm doing to the back. I just extended the paper and taped it down. So what I'm going to do now is to align my paper starting from this side, right? So I'm going to just match here and here together. You can see. So I have a lot of space on this side left. Because this space will still not be enough, I'm going to tape that side down, right? So I'm just going to tape here a little. I'm just taping that side down, right? You can see I have space here. I just taped down my waist line as well. I taped down my knee point and my hem as well, leaving a lot of space around here because I'm going to be curving the back side like this. That's to enable the skirts to flow very well at the back, right? So I have space as well on this side, but the space is not going to be enough. So I'm going to be taping extra fabric on this extra paper, sorry. I'm used to fabric, so I'm just taping this side down, right? Then I'm going to bring my paper, right? going to be taping another paper here like this, right? So I'm going to be taping that side as well. So when you're working with dresses like this, it consumes a lot of pattern paper, right? So just make sure you get enough. So in total for this dress, I'm using 3 pattern papers, this brown one. And I don't advise using cardboard in this situation because you need to use a lot of it. Cardboard does not have the volume that your brown paper will give you. So I'm also taping down this knee side here, right? So I'm going to continue drafting. So now when I do this, I'm going to come over to the waist side, right? I'm adding my zip allowance, which is 1 inch. I'm adding my zip allowance to the knee point, which is 1 inch as well. Then I'm coming over to rule that point. I'm going to be ruling my 1 inch, right? Now I'm going to shift it to work on the lower part of the dress. So from this point, I'm marking 12 or 14 inches as well here. Then I'm going to connect from this point, this my knee point, the zip allowance from my knee to this point here, right? So I'm going to just go ahead and connect that. Like so. I'm extending this line to the hem like this, right? Now I'm going to move my pattern paper back here. And from this point, guys, from here, right, I'm just going to trace off this side a little, like 1 or 1.5 inch. Then I begin to give it a subtle curve to meet this hem here. So you can see this is what we have around there. As for this other side, it's going to be the exact same thing as, so my seam line, the side seam line is going to be the exact same thing as the front pattern, right? So I'm going to go ahead and cut now. So I'm starting from this side seam. Our front like this. So this side, this center point, right, is going to be on fold. So I'm going to write on fold here. I'm cutting here on fold. This is the front panel and this is the back panel. So for the back panel, this is the zip side, right? So for my zip allowance, which is from here, I'm going to cut it ×2, so which means I'm cutting 2 panels of this side, which is the back side. So you can see how the lower part is. Upper part of the dress, or the upper part of the dress, right, is 15 inches. That's from her shoulder to her half length is 15 inches, but I'm using 15.5. But then I will use 16.5 because I'm going to be using the side bust that, so I'm marking 16.5 here. Now I want to draft the front and the back at the same time. So So I'm marking 16.5 as well. Sorry about my paper. I'm using the paper from the skirt. I'm using part of it. So I'm going to mark from my shoulder to my armhole line, right, which is 7.5. Then from the shoulder to the bust, 9.5. to the under bust, 12.5, right? Shoulder to under bust, 13, sorry, 13. Shoulder to bust is shoulder to bust is 10, then 13, and then 15, right? Then ½ inch for joining. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Shoulder to bust 10, shoulder to armhole 7.5, shoulder to chest 7.5, shoulder to bust 10, shoulder to under bust 13, then 15 inches here. So I'm going to connect that to straight lines. Okay, so this is the chest line, the bust line, the under bust line, and then the affluence, right? So for the neckline, I'm going to mark 3 inches standard neckline, then shoulder 8 inches standard. On the 8 inches point, I'm coming down by 1 inch. Then I'm connecting that point to the neckline. What I'm just drafting here is the basic bodice. Now her shoulder is not up to 16 inches, it's 15, right? So I'm marking ½ an inch backwards like this. Then I'm going to measure from that ½ an inch to the beginning of the fabric, 7.2. Going to be marking the same thing here. Then I'll connect it for it to be, so this will be our armhole line. Now I'm going to insert her bust measurements. The bust here is 34 divided by 4. I'm going to divide 34 divided by 4, should have like 8. 8.5, right? So I'm marking 8.5 on the chest line like this. Then I'm going to find half of the armhole like so. Then I'm going to connect that, my curve, make my armhole curve. Before then, sorry, on this midpoint here, I'm going in by ½ inch. Then I'm going to connect this ½ inch to the ½ inch to my bust points here, my bust line here. This my around here. Then I'll connect here like so. Now I want a cap sleeve, right? And I don't want the sleeve to be separate from the bodies. So what I'm going to be doing is to extend this line straight. I'm going to extend from my shoulder line. I'm extending it straight. Then I'm going to measure 2.5 inches like so. on that 2.5 inches, I'm coming down by, let's say, 6 centimeter, right? So I'm going to make a curve on that side. From my armhole side, I'll curve it to meet this 6 centimeter point, like this, right? So what I want to do is to dissolve this side to my armhole. So I'm just going to curve it in using this side of my French curve. I'm just curving that in. So you can see, I'm just going to smoothen this curve so that it doesn't look odd, right? So this is my sleeve side, right? So now I'm going to insert my affluence measurement. The affluence is 28. So 28 divided by 2 by 4 is 7, right? So I'm marking 7 like so. Then I'm going to connect it to this point here. That's my bust measurement here, connect it to the affluence measurement. Now on the bust line, I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust pan, which is 3.5. It's a total of 7 divided by 2, 3.5, 3.5. Then I'll connect the point. Then I'll mark ½ inch on both sides for my dart. ½ inch here, ½ inch here. I'm connecting that like so. Connecting it to my bust point. Now on the front bodice, right, I want a side bust dart as well as this dart. So I'm marking 1 inch, right? I'll mark half here, half here. So this point from this is my bust point. So from my bust line downwards is where I marked that 1 inch, half. So I'm going to just connect those to my bust point, connecting it to my bust point. So I have another dart on this side. Now I'm going to pay back my, oh sorry, this line here that I have here is not supposed to be, so my dart is wrong. This is my affluence point. Let me correct that. This is my affluence point, so it's on the affluence, right? My bust pan here, I'll mark my bust pan to connect it, then I'll mark ½ inch on the affluence. Sorry about that, guys. That's one mistake that you can make, so I won't be cutting that out so that you know that it's possible to make those mistakes. So I have ½ inch on both sides, connecting it from here. So this side is not the same thing. So this is where this is my affluence point, right? Now this dart, you pay back your dart on any line that your dart legs are sitting on. So this is my dart leg here and here, and they are sitting on this line, right? So this is my affluence point. My affluence ends here, so I'm going to mark 1 inch again, right? For my, I'm marking 1 inch plus, let me just use this total because of my sewing allowance. So I have 1 inch, yeah. Then I'm going to need ½ an inch, this ½ inch for joining the upper side and the lower side of the bodice. So I'm leaving that 1.5 inch like so, right? So this is the point, so I'm going to extend it and extend this line like this, right? So now I'm going to connect the line to this point because I don't need this dart around here. So I'm going to connect it like so. So this dart has been transferred here So because whenever you take a dart here, you pay it back here, right? So this dart now that I took on this side, I'm going to be paying it back because the dart leg is sitting on my affluence line. You can see it. These are the dart legs sitting on my affluence line. So I'm going to pay back on this point. So I'm paying back 1 inch. The dart is 1 inch. I'm paying it back 1 inch. So I'm going to connect it to my armhole, which is also my bust measurement here. Now I'm going to insert my sewing allowance, which is 1 inch. So I have 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. So I'm going to connect these lines like this. So this is it. So I want the width of my neckline. Let's come back to the neckline. Is 4 inches. So I'm marking 1 inch on my shoulder line. So you can see this is 4 inches, right? So I'm going to make it 4 by 4. 4 by 4. Then I'm going to connect it using my French curve. So you can see what it looks like, right? So this is what our shoulder, our armhole looks like. Sorry, let me just adjust this. I don't like the way this curve came out here, so I'm just going to adjust it nicely like so. So now let's do the back side. Ended my lines so that I can draft the back. So I'm just going to square out this line here so that it will enable me work on the back. So this side will be for the back side. So I'm marking 1 inch for zip allowance, right, on the back side. So I'm starting drafting my back from here. So this is my zip allowance, right? Now I'm going to mark my 3 inches neckline, 3 inches standard neckline, 8 inches for the shoulder line, like so. On the shoulder line, I'm coming down by 1 inch, just like I did to the front, connecting that. Then I'm taking out half of an inch, like so. Then I'm going to mark that 7.2 here to enable me square out this line, right? I'm going to insert the bust measurement, divide by bust measurement 34. I'm just going to measure here. Bust measurement is 34 divided by 4. I have 8.5. So I'm marking, mind you, I'm not starting from this line, I'm starting after my zip allowance. So I mark my 8.5 like so. Now I'm just going to make my armhole line, armhole curve, sorry. I'm not going in by half inch because this is the back side, so we want more coverage around that side, right? So I'm squaring out this line. Then I measure 2.5, just like I did to the front. I go down by 6 cm. Then I make a curve. Make a curve connecting this side like this. Then I'm going to curve it into just curving it into my armhole, right? So I'm going to insert my affluence measurements. My affluence measurement, I'll just measure that out, 7.2. come back here and insert that 7.2 here, then 1 inch, sorry, I'll connect these points. So the back is pretty simple, and then I'm adding my dart. For the back, my dart is not starting from my bust point, rather it's starting from my chest point. So from here, I'm adding my bust span measurement, right? Mark it here as well. Then I'll connect those lines. Sorry, just like I made that mistake, I don't know why I keep making that mistake, right? This is not the same point. This is my affluent point, guys. So the back does not have this side, because I'm not taking that side that's around here, so it does not have this side. It's just ending here. So on the affluent point, I'm taking 1/2 inch on both sides, then I'm connecting that like so, right? So now I'm going to pay back my dart here, which is 1 inch. Then I'll connect it to the armhole. Then I'm taking 1 inch sewing allowance, 1 inch sewing allowance. I'm just going to connect that as well. You can see. So now I'm coming back to do my neckline, my 1 inch here to give me 4 inches. So when I put my tape here, I have 4 inches here. So it's going to be, the back neck is higher than the front, so it's going to be 4 by 2. I'm going to use my French curve to do that. So this is it about the back side, right? So let me cut that out so that you can see. So we are cutting from here. Let me cut the back side first. I'm cutting it like so. So this is our back side. Okay, I'm taking this side out. We needed this side on the front, not on the back. So I'm cutting that side out, right? So this is our front panel, right? Now I'm going to be cutting the front, make it the back side aside. So here on this line, this dart, I'm going to square it out here as well, right? So guys, see what happens here. Now I'm going to trim off this side. So this is the front, this is the back. Now look at what happens here when I take in my dart, when I sew my dart like so, and I align this side. You can see the side panels aligns. but when I open my dart, the side is longer than the front. So what you want to do is to double check here to see if your neckline, if your shoulder lines align, abi. You check it like so, you see it aligned. Then when you close your dart, you check if the lines align. So when I close it and join it, you can see it aligns, which means what you have is correct. Now there's something else that I want to do on my front side, right? I want this side to be a yoke because I'm using two fabrics, right? I'm using a different fabric on the upper side, so I'm going to be creating a yoke. So from my bust line, right, I'm just going to create a sweetheart neckline to the armhole side like so, right? Then I'll cut that out because this side is going to be a yoke. So this is it. I'm cutting this side separate, this side separate. I'm going to be adding seam allowance to this side and this side when I'm cutting my fabric. Then on the back as well, I also want it to be a yoke. So from my bust line as well, I'm just making a subtle curve to this point. Then I'm curving like so. You can just do this any shape that you like, right? So I'm just going to cut that as well because I want a yoke on that side as well. So you can see this is my upper back, the lower back. So this is the zip allowance, right? And I'm going to label that. I'm cutting it twice, so I'm writing ×2 here as well. Zip allowance, I'm cutting ×2. So for the front side is going to be on fold, so I'm going to write that so that I don't forget. Then this side is on fold. You can see we didn't even go far before I was almost getting confused. So it's always good to label your patterns, right? So this is my front and this is my back pattern, right? So guys, I'm going to cut these off on fabric. So this is it about our mermaid skirts. This is all our patterns, the skirt pattern and the top patterns, right? So thank you so much guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. So if you want to also see how I coupled all these dresses together, do ensure to subscribe, right? Because I'm going to be uploading that video after this one. So thank you guys. See you in my next video, which will be the sewing of this video. Bye.